The African penguin population has shrunk dramatically over the last decade. Climate change and overfishing have made it hard for the birds to find food in their traditional feeding grounds in Namibia and South Africa. Anchovies and sardines are in short supply. As a result, the number of breeding pairs has dropped 90% in the last 10 years, according to researchers. Our reporter paid a visit to a small colony on the Cape of South Africa, where conservationists are doing all they can to save the birds there.
A penguin's life isn't easy. Out on the sea, there are many challenges awaiting the small birds, including avoiding the jaws of sharks and sea lions. And on land, they are preyed upon by other predators, such as feral dogs and leopards. Kewan McGeorge from the conservation organization Cape Nature looks after the penguins at the Stony Point Nature Reserve in South Africa. Once a week, he counts the penguins, much to their displeasure. The penguin colony lies on the edge of the town of Betty's Bay on the country's east coast. The birds nest right outside the residents' homes. It's the only colony in southern Africa that is still growing. Populations in the 27 other known breeding grounds have shrunk or died out due to the diminishing fish stocks and increasing levels of waste, plastic, and oil in the ocean.
The species is struggling. The species, we call it a sentinel species. It's an indicator species of how healthy our ocean is. Basically looking at the biomass. If the biomass is poor, the species is going to struggle. Currently, we're looking at about 2%, 2.5% of the original stock of African penguin.
Dwindling food supplies are hurting the populations. Foraging birds often can't find enough to eat in the ocean. That can be deadly, especially during the molting season when penguins must remain on land for 21 days, unable to hunt. That's why the park ranger sometimes has to intervene to save some of the birds.
It's in poor condition. He's a bit of an arrested molter, we call it. Basically, his wetsuit hasn't got the insulative properties. His feathers in pretty poor condition.
In a situation like this, Kewan McGeorge gives the debilitated bird a fortifying meal by a feeding tube. Penguins play an important role in the ocean's ecosystem. Numerous other ocean bird species depend on penguins for their survival.
Seabirds have this interrelationship, interconnectivity. We find that the penguins, your plunge diver, who they co-opt and hunt in packs to actually bring the food to the surface and allow the other seabirds to feed. This dependence is very important between all seabirds. If you lose the one, you lose the others.
The Stony Point colony is accessible to tourists. People are able to get quite close to the birds without disturbing them. In this way, animal conservationists can raise awareness for their plight and appeal for support in the effort to preserve the birds.
These guys don't have a choice. You know, big sea, big swell, they must go out and go and forage for their daily bread, basically. You know, regardless of trawlers, plastic, debris in the water, the challenges faced with sharks and seals, these guys are dedicated to survive.
But they still need more help. Simply establishing fishery protection zones off the coast would provide them with better food resources. If left to fend for their own survival, it might not be possible in the near future to observe the African penguins in their natural environment.
When you encounter a snake, do you just get as far away as possible? Well, Abraham Brown just stays put. He is a professional snake handler. You can call him in Zimbabwe when a snake gets into your yard or maybe your room. He'll catch the creature and bring it to a snake farm where he shows school children why the reptiles need to be protected.
The ambulance is on standby in case things go wrong for Abraham and Divine. They're professional snake rescuers in southwest Zimbabwe and have been called out by a woman who's frightened a snake might harm her young son.
So, where did you see the snake?
It was in that sort of area
by the washing machine and dishwasher.
It's a highly venomous cobra. Its bite can be fatal.
Oh, it's coiled up. Okay.
Oh,
Move your
here he
hands.
comes.
Move your hands.
Here he comes.
If the snake feels provoked, it might strike. But the rescuer's secret lies in remaining calm and cautious.
Hey guys, that's a good cobra, huh? That's his banded Egyptian cobra or snouted cobra. It's very big, very healthy snake.
Many people simply kill snakes if they see them. But this woman acted correctly. Now both the snake and the family are fine.
Yeah.
The snake handlers put the cobra in a plastic container.
Yeah.
They'll later set it free in a suitable place. Abraham and Divine go on rescue missions about 4 times a week. They work for the Victoria Falls Snake Park Rescue Centre. To call them out costs about €20.
We get calls from schools, different like companies, sometimes in hotels, for capturing snakes. But sometimes we have a situation like sometimes people will try to kill a snake, and by the time we get there, it will be wounded.
The famous Victoria Falls roar with life. The snake park is nearby. It serves as a rescue centre and also teaches locals and tourists about snakes. Abraham and Divine will keep the captured cobra here until they find a natural environment away from human habitation where they can release it. Around 80 species of snake can be found in Zimbabwe. They're an important part of the ecosystem and are also of use to humans. For example, they control the rat population. Rats can destroy crops and food stores and spread diseases. But the snake's habitat is shrinking as human habitations expand. And forests are burned to make room for farmland. Most snake species in Zimbabwe are not protected by the law.
You have to
So Abraham and Divine are trying to raise awareness. They teach school kids why snakes are important for the ecosystem and how to behave towards them.
Or when you corner it. Okay. Black mambas, they've got a coffin-shaped head. Can you see the head?
Children can even develop friendly ties with snakes.
Oh, yeah, I remember him. We are trying to educate people about the snakes, kids, and we would be willing to, like, in schools to have, like, snake clubs to teach children about the snakes so they grow up. We need to kill that phobia of snakes.
Many snakes in Zimbabwe aren't poisonous. If people know which ones are harmless, they're less likely to kill them. A day with the snakes here is fun for the kids.
We learned a lot about snakes. We learned how to identify snakes. We learned the different colors.
They're mostly just beautiful and trying to help the environment.
Abraham and Divine hope that if the kids learn to love snakes, they'll protect them in the future.
So that's all for today's Eco at Africa show. We hope you enjoyed our latest edition about nature, innovations and the environment. Thank you for watching and goodbye from Lagos, Nigeria.
If you want to find out more, visit our website or our social media and have your say. Thanks for watching. We'll be with you next week for another edition of our European and Pan-African Environment magazine. Bye for now.